Bye! My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home.
Welcome back once again, everyone, to another episode of Duck Dogs. I am your host, Josh Miller. And before we get going here, as always, let's be sure to thank our wonderful partners. Thank you to the presenting sponsor of this show, Eukanuba. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 and also 2616 are the blends of food that we're feeding our dogs at the kennel. And then, of course, we love that Puppy Pro for our developing young puppies. So if you're in the need or in the market for high-quality performance food to put your four-legged hunting partner on, be sure to check out the Eukanuba Premium Performance line of dog food. Thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your premium option for all of your outdoor clothing. Whether you're hunting, maybe you're still turkey hunting, whether you are just looking for some great outdoor wear to wear in the field while you're training or doing your everyday work outside here in the summer, it is your premium option, www.sitkagear.com. Thank you to Kent Cartridge. We've, of course, talked about how we use Kent specifically. I love that bismuth during the season. But now, as we're in the swing of training, we're using the blanks. So they have something for all of us dog trainers and hunters all year. So go check out Kent Cartridge. Thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and, more importantly, now in the time of year we're in, your training needs. Whether you need bumpers, whether you need whistles, whether you need platforms, or, whatever you need, launchers, www.gundogsupply.com. They are great people, great customer service, great products. Go check them out. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test-rated kennel, both in the intermediate and in the large size. We talk about that 5-star crash test like it's no big deal. If you ever need it, it is a major deal. So do not overlook that. I know, it might be an extra $100 or a couple $100 versus a cheaper option, but if you were to need it, think of everything that you have into your dog. Think of your dog and their part and their role in their family and your family. It's worth that extra money. Go check that out, www.luckyduck.com. And last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your premium option for training your own dog at home with step-by-step videos, with a fantastic community. And I'm actually going to share with you guys here in a minute some new ripples that we put in that program that I'm really excited about. So www.retrieverroadmap.com. And if you guys are interested in getting into that program, I've created a code that is DD for Duck Dogs, DD100. That is going to get you $100 off that program. I feel like it's already very, very affordable, but just something else to do for you guys as the audience. So DD100 gets you $100 off to get into that program. Well, good morning, everyone, and good morning at least where I am. It's a rainy morning here in Wisconsin, and I have come to just love rain days. There's something about these rain days that it just forces me to slow down. It forces me to get in the office. It forces me to catch up on things. And so I've learned to just enjoy that sound of rain hitting the roof. But as long as I had that going on here this morning, I'm playing some major catch up because this week I had my videographer, Brett, come in and do a bunch of videos. We got a bunch of new content for Retriever Roadmap, and so that's really fun. One of the cool things about where we're at in the program now with it, it's been out for about a year and a half. We're getting a lot of feedback from our community, and what's cool about it is that now with a little bit of a track record here, we have some not constant, that's the wrong way of putting it, some frequently asked questions that I'm able to say, hey, I've heard this now 4 or 5 times. Let's document it, right? And we're able to grow this specifically off questions that are coming in. The difficult part is trying to get a dog that matches up with that. Okay, so for example, one question that people have had is if they have a dog that is struggling with spinning both right and then left on backcast. They're teaching them how to use, if I backcast with my right hand, spin right. If I backcast with my left hand, spin left. And there are just some dogs, it's like being right or left-handed. If you're right-handed and I toss you a pen and I'm like, hey, write me a letter, left-handed, you're probably going to struggle with it. It's going to feel super uncomfortable and you're going, why don't I just write this with my right hand? I'm way better at this. It seems like dogs can be like that too, where they're just so dependent on one way. Well, I had a dog in doing it, and one of the things we love doing inside that program is documenting dogs in live training sessions. Sometimes that can be incredibly frustrating because for me, I probably struggle a little bit on camera doing that, because I'm in the moment training. This is a client dog. I can't screw this up just because we're documenting it, right? And so I'm trying to talk and think and train and read the dog. And there's a lot going on. So I'm probably not the best. It's not my best Tom Cruise impression when I'm up in front of the camera in those moments. But I also believe it's probably some of the most impactful videos that we have, because you see the struggles, you see why it's going to take repetition. You see what is going on, and every dog, of course, is going to respond different. But I had a dog in that would spin exclusively right. So the owner dropped him off. He's coming in for advanced training at the kennel, and he told me that. He said, I cannot get him to spin left if I backcast him, even just simply on baseball. Playing baseball, if you know the 3-way casting drill, baseball, that's what I'm talking about. To the point that he could sit him looking at third base, cast him back with his left hand, and he would spin all the way around to spin right. And he did that to me too. He did that to me when I started this thing. We have that documented. And so I go through a 3-day progression of here's where we started, here's how I'm going to start doing this, and I'm going to gradually work through this. And every day he got better and better. By the end of that 3rd session, he's boom, 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 left, 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 left. Really, really good. But it was really fun to watch how badly he struggled with that. And then through patience and repetition and the right drills, we're able to get him doing it. So it was really fun to document that, really fun to have Brett here and go through all that. We got a lot of really great content with dogs popping. That has been another pretty common question, that a dog popping, again, terminology in case you don't know it, a dog that is turning and looking and asking for a direction or a cast without you asking them, okay? That's something that we're going to talk about here a little later, but it is something that we want to work through. And so when I say a little later in this episode, I actually have something I kind of want to dig into with that. But really cool stuff. I can't wait for it to get into the program. That program has been continuing to grow, and that's been a fun part of this. But there's 2 new announcements that we have made with Retriever Roadmap. Actually 3. Let me go through them here with you guys, just in case you're interested in it. The first one is the Retriever Roadmap podcast. So if you're looking for another podcast for you guys to listen to, you do not have to be a Retriever Roadmap member to listen to that. It's public. You can go find it on this platform that you are on right now, whether it's iTunes, podcast, whether it's Spotify, whatever platform you're on, you can go find it right now. It's the Retriever Roadmap podcast. And what we're doing different in that show versus what I do here is we're sitting down with actual members of that Retriever Roadmap community and talking with them. And what's cool about that is we can dig into different training hurdles that they're having. Let's talk through a problem that they're struggling with. Let's talk through maybe the path that they took to overcome something. There's always something valuable to gain, something to learn from someone else's journey. Now, whether that directly is applicable to you and your dog, maybe not, but it is something that I think the more knowledge that you can grasp, the better of a trainer, a handler, a communicator, a leader you're going to be. That's just the fact of it. There is no university, there is no degree that says, hey, if you do this, you're going to be better at doing this, training, handling, whatever it is. So listening to other people is a great way to do that. So we're doing that on a bi-weekly basis, and so it won't be as frequent as this show here. But in case you're looking for another show to kind of dig into, go look that up and go subscribe to us so you get alerted when we do new episodes over there. So the Retriever Roadmap podcast is kind of cool. Ripple number 2 that we have integrated into that program is one-on-one Zoom calls with me, or the opportunity to have one-on-one Zoom calls with me. So let me walk through kind of how this came about. So one thing that I will say, and potentially to a fault, is I have an extreme passion for helping people. I really do. I mean, it's what I really get excited about when we do training days. To be quite honest, I probably have more fun during training days than I do sometimes just training myself, because I enjoy the people side of it, and I enjoy helping people with that. And so what I was struggling with is, if someone in the Retriever Roadmap community was really struggling with something, I'd have a phone call with them. Well, during that phone call, it's difficult to maybe always relay what it is that I'm trying to tell you. If you're a new handler trying to learn, sometimes it's hard to digest what it is I'm trying to say, whether it's the terminology I'm using, whether it's the picture I'm trying to paint for you. The phone just adds some difficulty. Where these Zoom calls, I have my whiteboard behind me. We can talk about it. I can draw something up. We can go through it together. There's a lot of opportunity to be successful with that. And so I think that is something I'm really, really excited about. Plus, I've talked about this in the past, but I never thought of this program as being a community. The whole reason this even started is because I was having too many long-distance clients that I wasn't even getting to spend time with them. They'd fly their dog in, I would train the dog, they'd fly the dog back, and I would send videos, but I never knew if they were actually going to go and follow through and keep up with the dogs when they went home. So here, like, okay, let's put this whole program together. Your dog is at this point right here. Go from this point forward, continue it on at home. That's how this whole thing started. So to think now that there's an actual community is something that is really neat. But then I want to get to know these people, right? Like I get to know them on a keyboard, but that's not the same. And so these Zoom calls are going to make it to be where it's as face-to-face as I can make it. It'll be more personable. It'll be really neat. So I'm really, really excited about that. Plus just the ability to help more, which is important to me. The last thing, which is really something that I think is going to be really fun, is we are doing a big group training weekend, Friday, Saturday, at the end of June, that is open to all Retriever Roadmap members. So if you're a member and you have not heard about this yet, make sure you go check it out. If you're not a member, but maybe this is kind of one of those things you've been looking for, this would be a reason to do this, because this is it, already. I mean, I've only announced this, I think, 3 days ago. I think we already have like 35 people that are said, yes, I'm in, RSVP'd, coming from all over the country. We have people from Texas, from Pennsylvania, from Ohio, from Georgia, from California. I mean, literally all over the place. So it's going to be a really fun thing. And there's going to be some really cool things I'm going to announce and share at that event. But so if you're a member, go check that out. So, and then next week, okay, I'm kind of done with the Retriever Roadmap stuff, but next week, what I'm really excited about, if you guys have ever heard of Hush, Hush, get Hush in. They have a big YouTube following. If you're at all interested specifically in big game, they do a fantastic job documenting their big game hunts. But BMAC, Brian McClare, who is one of the 3 owners of Hush, I'm going fishing with him out in Oregon, and we're going to fly fish the Deschutes River, which I'm super, super excited about. And so that's going on next week. So I've had a crazy busy week. Now I'm trying to play major catch up. I'm going to work through the weekend, and then I'm going to be gone here next week. So I have a lot going on, but it's all really, really good stuff. And it'll be fun just to go take a breath, relax a little bit, have a little fun, and then get to fish a river that I have heard a lot about, but I've never had the opportunity to go fish, and then fish that with someone that has become such a great friend. And that is something I'm really, really excited about too. So a lot going on here in our world, which is all good stuff. So, okay, so here I want to dig into a comment that I have heard fairly often over the last few years, and I heard it again here last week. And it just kind of sparked my interest. I kind of started digging into, like, why do I hear this so much? Okay, so let me kind of preface this with a little bit of background. So I think it's great that more and more people are out there. I think they're looking for the right dog. And there's so much that we can dig into with that, with what is the right dog for you, right? This is one of those times you have to be honest with yourself. As men, I feel like, and some women, I mean, don't exclude yourself on this comment, ladies. But I think sometimes we have a hard time setting our ego aside with this type of a purchase when you're finding that right dog. The reason I say, now I will say, the ladies tend to do a much, much better job at this. But us guys, oftentimes we struggle with that ego side of it. And sometimes it's hard, like for me, when I ask, hey, what are you going to do with the dog, or how many days do you hunt, or how it's very, very common answers, right? And for me, when I'm asking these questions, I'm trying to figure out and dissect what is the right dog for you, because I believe that my biggest job as a breeder is to match you with the right pairing that will likely get you the dog that you are looking for. You could come to me and say, hey, I want a puppy out of whoever, Brock. Okay, a lot of you guys that listen to this know Brock. I want a puppy out of Brock. And I kind of start digging into what it is you're wanting to do. Like, I might say, hey, Brock is not the right stud for you. I think you should go with a bud puppy. I'm just using hypotheticals here. And the reason, I'll give you the reasons behind it. I think this is a good fit, blah, 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 right? So there's just so much there that if you really dig into it, finding the right dog is a big deal, right? And so I think more and more people there's more and more things that they can find. There's more and more opportunity for people to research. There's more and more, more can be a bad thing on this too, but there's more opportunity for that. But one comment that I hear very frequently in this, when I talk about what kind of a dog you're looking for, a lot of times the first thing that I hear is, I don't need a field trial dog. Okay. That's not what I asked, but I'm learning more and more to dig into some of these questions of why, right? So why would someone say the first thing, so what are you looking for in a dog? Well, I don't need a field trial dog. Okay. I think there's a couple big reasons that people immediately go to that. Okay. So one would be just that, finding the right puppy. It might be that for you and your shoes, you've already identified that that's not what you want. I don't want a dog that is super high geared, that doesn't have an off switch, that has flames coming out of their feet, when they go work. Like, maybe you've already identified that is not for you, and that is fantastic. If that is the reasoning for that comment, awesome. You're already ahead of the game. I think that's fantastic. But there's a part of this that also makes me worried when people say that, because when I dig into some of this more and more, like there was a gentleman probably about a year or more ago now that did say that same thing. I don't need, but he said it differently. He had one more word to it. He said, I don't need a field trial dog anymore. Now, this guy was probably in his 30s, and he had a couple kids. I can't remember ages or anything like that, but I do know he had a couple kids. And I was like, okay, so any more? So you used to run field trials? And he's like, no, I didn't, but that's the caliber of dog that I needed. I'm like, okay, so tell me about that. And he's like, well, I don't hunt, like I used to, which is totally understandable because of the kid situation, right? We'll dig into that here in a second, but totally understandable. Okay. But I was like, okay, so, what did you do hunting wise? Right. And he's like, man, like we used to pheasant hunt all the time. We used to go every weekend, and I'm like, okay. So and in my head, I'm sitting here going, okay, every weekend, like that's like what? Like 7, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, something like that. Like, season's only a few months long, right? So like the dog hunted 20 times, if that, right? 16 times. Okay. So like, this is where I think sometimes, again, our egos get the best of us. Like, I would say, like, you didn't need a field trial dog then either, right? But again, just the way that we talk about things. So when I kind of dig into this, the thing that makes me worried is that I feel like at times people are trying to lower the bar right away, right? I don't need a field trial dog anymore. Boom, right? Like, I don't need a Corvette. Boom, like, knock it down, right? But what worries me in that is that I feel like a lot of this comes down to, I don't want to pay for that dog. Okay, well, that might make sense as an adult dog, right? Maybe not as a puppy, I don't think. Which there are times, for sure. But they don't want to put the work into that. That's the part that scares me, is that, like, are you saying that because what you're telling me is that you're not going to work with this dog? You're not going to train this dog. That's going to be your excuse for the going forward of this dog's life, right? Now, I will say that I totally understand the evolution of your life. Okay, so I'll share with you mine that I'm going through right now. I think I've talked about this a little bit. If not, it's worth talking about. So I have a young dog named Solo that I think is an absolute dynamite dog. I think he's a monster. He's a stud. He's got a fantastic off switch to match his big motor, big drive, big personality. I think he's gorgeous. I love this dog. I think he's awesome. But my 4-year-old daughter also loves this dog and thinks he's awesome, to the point that, and I can't tell you why this is, but Solo adores that little girl. And up to this point, when I've been developing my studs and they're in their training and they're going through the process, I, in my head, have always had a very precise way of doing that, right? So, here's our routine. We stay in our routine. That way, if something gets off, I can keep you in that routine. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We go through the process. And then after you are done and completed and you've made the team and you're part of my family forever, great. Now you come in the house. Now you do all the things that I really love, right? Part of that is trying to, if they don't make the team, we don't completely rip our hearts out. We do anyway, but it just makes it a hair easier. But I've never dealt with the kid aspect of it. Okay, so Solo sleeps in my daughter's bed at night. Never have I had a especially young developing dog, do that. I have a 4-year-old girl that wants to be a little dog trainer. So anytime she's with me, she gets to handle Solo. How well do you think that goes? So naturally, I'm looking at this, pulling my hair out, going, oh my gosh, look at all these issues that are probably being developed from this, right? But I'm also looking at this from the other side of the fence going, I love that this is getting her into this. I love that she loves that dog. I love that that dog loves her. I love that this is his role in our family. Yes, it puts me back in training. Yes, it is very frustrating because of how I have to go backwards all the time and fix things. Yes, it is frustrating. I can't be going as fast through the training as I really want to be. But this is also one of those things where I have to accept. Now, I'm struggling with that. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm struggling with that because I'm looking at this going, dude, like you should be finishing your titles this year. You should be pushing through, what I need you to push through. Well, my daughter has asked me because she loves my ribbons. Okay, so we have probably more ribbons than you could choke horses with the amount of ribbons that we have. It's just ridiculous. I have totes full of ribbons, which is great, right? Ribbons don't really impress me, to be really honest with you, but we have a bunch of them. Well, she thinks they're pretty. She thinks they're awesome. She loves them. So she asked, how does she get one? I'm like, well, this is what we do. We take our dogs and we go compete, and if they do well enough, then we get a ribbon saying that we did a really good job. She's like, well, I want to do that with Solo. On one hand, oh my gosh, because she's wanting to run. So on the other hand, oh my gosh, this is awesome. She wants to go run Solo, right? There's both sides of it. So my ego side says, oh, like I want to be running him in finish tests and getting his H or CH and finishing what I need to do. On the other side of it, knowing that she's going to be running started because my 4-year-old daughter is not going to be running blinds and hand casting. She's not going to be doing that stuff, right? So she's going to be running them and started. But she's going to do it, right? Like you got to love that side of it too. So there's kind of this dichotomy that I'm dealing with inside of me of like, I want to do this, but I also want to do that. And how is this going to work? This is interesting to me. So when I say I understand the progression of life, like I get it. I really do. I also understand that I have some clients that I've trained 2, 3, 4 dogs for that are coming back to me going, look, I have adored my dogs, but I don't need anything as big a motor anymore. Like I'm not walking the miles I used to. They're on pontoon rides with me now where they didn't do that before. I need a little more chill, a little more no, little less go, get all that stuff, right? So what I'm saying here, I know I'm talking a lot about finding the right puppy. I'm talking about like my fear of lowering the bar, my fear of not wanting to pay for that dog, my fear of not wanting to put the work in that dog when you say I don't need a field trial dog. But I also understand why someone would say that. Okay, where I'm going with this whole thing is this thought and where I think this comment for some people that may not mean it the best way, where that ultimately brings you, okay? So where I'm going is my fears when that comment, when you're looking for the dog that says, I don't need a field trial dog. I also think that if you don't mean that in the right way, which we just talked about a lot of the right ways, right? If you don't mean that in the right way, I think what it leads to is you going, well, I don't mind it. I don't care if the dog pops, right? I don't care if he cheats the bank. I don't care if he delivers the hand. I don't care if he does, a 200-yard mark. I don't care if he runs a 300-yard blind. And so let me break these down because like these right here are 5 very common ones that I wrote down. Okay. If you are saying this, if you have said any of those comments, I'm going to tell you why you should care about that. Okay. Now I know it's going to take time. I know it's going to take dedication to do overcome some of these things, especially if they are happening to you. But let me just quickly break it down because it's food for thought. I'm not saying you have to do this, but I'm saying you should at least think about it. Okay. The first one is not cheating. So I've talked about cheating, which it would be running the bank. So let me try to paint a picture for you. So you are sitting at, let's just say a duck pond. Okay, you're sitting at, think of a face of a clock. You're sitting at the 6 o'clock. You're looking at 12 o'clock. This pond has not a perfectly circled pond, right? So it has some curvatures, has maybe some points and some terrain to it, right? Decoys are out in front of you. Duck comes in, boom, shot, splash in the decoys. Cripple, head pops up, is all of a sudden going to start swimming, right? You send the dog. you know what? Let me back up, because someone is in your car right now going, well, you just shoot it again on the water. Water swat is dead. Okay. Let me switch this. Okay. So you send the dog. All of a sudden it pops up. Okay. I'm going to guess, let's just say you don't have handling down. Okay. So you're not going to be able to stop, cast, put the dog on him. Well, if the dog is going to bank, run, and cheat, which a dog is going to do if he thinks, or she thinks, if he thinks that he can run around to a closer point to where that bird is and jump in from that side of it. So let's just say that. Let's just say your dog's on your left side, boom, shot goes down, you send the dog. The dog then runs the bank. Well, to run the bank, unless your dog is way more talented than any dog that I have seen and is going to run looking over his shoulder, he is going to have to look away from where he just saw that bird fall, to look at the bank, to run around the bank, to see where he's running. Okay, so now he runs around the bank, runs around where he's going to enter, and enters. Now, here's the problem. When your dog sees a mark go down, think of them taking a mental picture. Click. Mental picture of that area. Okay, so they see the surroundings, they see where the decoys are, they see where that bird landed, right? If they take their eyes off of where that is and go enter from a different spot, now all of a sudden, click, where he's entering the water, that is a different picture than the one he took. So it means he doesn't know where the bird is, right? There's no way for him to know. So what happens is he's going to jump in. He's going to go run around in the decoys, or swim around, I guess, in this case. Meanwhile, you're going to see this little cripple that's swimming off to the side to get away from him, evading, living like birds are going to do. You're going to be yelling. You're going to be screaming. You're going to be trying to get him back. You're going to be trying to walk over there. It's going to be non-productive. Let's take off the table the fact that basic geometry tells us that the shortest distance in between 2 points is a straight line, right? So let's take away the fact that it is the most efficient route, because I've had hunters tell me I'm just a hunter. Okay, well, so am I. I'm just a hunter. I don't need him to do that. Well, to be the most efficient retriever that he can be, he should be doing that. Okay, so that is a reason there. Let's talk about popping. So popping is an interesting one, because popping, which would be, by definition, the dog is turning and looking to you for a cast before you were to blow a whistle to tell them where to go. So just voluntarily turning, looking, saying, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, where do I go from here? Now, in the I'm just a hunter, and I'm using air quotes here because I am just a hunter too, but I'm just a hunter, I don't mind that. I could actually see where that would be an acceptable answer. Because for someone that is out in the field hunting, if your dog goes over the area, hunt, looks back at you going like, hey, Dad, where is it? Well, okay, I didn't have to blow a whistle. I'm making less noise. It's more convenient, like the dog's showing he's a team player because he wants to take direction. Okay, I can accept all that stuff. But I'm going to tell you, it's probably going to unravel and get to be where they're going to pop more and more. You're going to have to handle more and more. The dog is going to be less confident in their own talents more and more because they're relying on you, right? We talk about huntability. Like if a dog gets in an area and hunt, a dog that is popping, asking for direction all the time, that dog is not as confident in themselves and always thinks that they need direction. But the problem is, in a hunting situation, how many times, think about yourself, how many times have you went to give your dog a cast and you don't really know where to cast them? Happens to me all the time. Okay, I know roughly where that bird is, but I stop him to give him a cast. I'm like, like where would I go from here? Hey guys, any idea from there? I don't know. It should be kind of in that area. Like, it's different than training. In training, we have an orange stake. I know right where you're going. In hunting, I don't. So this is one of those situations where, although I can understand it, I do believe that you're going to see more repercussions come of it and it unravel and get worse and worse as the dog gets older. Okay, so I think you should care about it. Delivery to hand, to me, that should be a no-brainer. That should be something that your dog should naturally want to do as a retriever, as a natural retriever, should want to do that. But you can go through Retriever Roadmap, ding, 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 has a program, whole conditioning, train retrieve. You can go through, do it all yourself. You can get that done if your dog's not doing it or that maybe they picked up a bad habit. But why should they want to do it? Well, it is no fun, especially if you're an upland hunter, when your dog gets 4 feet from you, drops the bird, and the bird takes off like a rock star, and all of a sudden it's chaos, right? The dog's chasing it back down, bring it back, drops again, chase it back down, drops it in your screen. Yeah, it is not enjoyable. And from a dog standpoint, I truly believe that a dog has more comfort, more understanding when they know how to complete their job. A dog that drops short does not understand, one, their job. I would say that they're doing it because something inside of them tells them they're supposed to go grab it, and bring it back to you, but they don't understand where their job ends. There's clarity behind defining when your job ends. Think about for your work. If your boss tells you, hey, I want you to move this rock from here 100 yards over there. Yeah, I'm just obviously making something up, right? But when you take that rock, and if you didn't know where to go with it, and you just drop it somewhere, there's going to be uncertainty, right? Well, he told me to move it, so I moved it, right? But if there was a defined spot, hey, you're supposed to get this rock to this point, and you move it and you put it there, there has to be satisfaction in the finality of that. Job well done. I completed it how I was supposed to. Same thing with your dog. You go through, if you have a dog that is dropping short, and you go get Retriever Roadmap, you go through there, you do the train retrieve, and you get a dog then that delivers to hand, I promise you, you will see a difference in that dog. That dog will have a much better understanding of their job, and I would almost promise you, I'm not going to promise you because I don't know your dog, but more times than not, you're going to see a dog that all of a sudden, it seems like their trainability goes up. Their intensity goes up. Their focus goes up because they get it. They understand their job. They're just not out there willy-nilly and going through this thing, right? There's the clarity is a big deal, okay? One thing I think is so funny, I've heard people say this, like, I don't need a dog to go do a 200-yard mark or 100-yard mark. I've never shot a bird that far. No, I'm going to be willing to bet that you've shot one that has sailed that far, though. I mean, we have them that sail way farther than that. And unless you want to go pick that up, okay, you know what I mean? Like, everything's not, unless you're a way, way, way better shot than me and anyone that I've ever hunted with, every bird is not going to splash right at 30 yards in the decoys. Every pheasant you get up, you're not going to crush and drop right at the dog's feet. Like, how many times upland hunters, right? How many times have you shot that one leg drops, that bird sails, and you're like, oh boy, right? Waterfall hunters, how many times have you shot birds, and you're like, gosh, I know I hit that bird, and you kind of see that with that wing beat and that sail, boom. It's a long way, right? You got to go pick that up. As a conservationist, you should want to go pick that up. As a dog handler, you should be excited about the opportunity to go pick that up, right? And that kind of brings me to my next one. I hear people say this, fairly often. I don't need a dog that does a 300-yard blind retrieve. And I'm like, okay, like, so do you need a dog that does a 100-yard blind retrieve? Well, yeah, that'd be great. Well, if you're going to do 100, why not 3? Like, you know what I mean? Like, a blind retrieve is a blind retrieve. Like, why not stretch it out then? Like, I'm not saying 800. Like, that's ridiculous, right? You got to listen to the Brock story. He's done that before. Numerous times, as a matter of fact. But, you know what I mean? Like, you start putting these limitations on things. It's like, why not? Right? Well, if you're going to spend the time to teach them how to do a blind at 100 yards, like, you are going to get into digging that process, and you're going to want to go more, right? But if you go into it saying, like, he only needs to do about 100-yard blind retrieve, my guess is going to be you're not going to go do the work to get there even, because you're starting to lower the bar before you even get into it. So I'm all for, you may even say that I make my living off of finding the right dog for you. But I would be careful with how you word things in the sense of, like, let's go do great things with our dogs. I'm not saying every dog needs to go run a 300 blind or run 200-yard marks or not cheat the bank well, I don't like the cheat the bank thing, so I'm going to take that off. Like you get what I'm saying, right? Like, there's just ways that I feel like people want to slide into things and go, I don't need that. And guess what? If all that you need is a dog that's going to go enjoy the time on the field with you a half dozen times a year and be a family member for the 360 days otherwise, that is fantastic. You don't need to go do any of that. That's totally fine. To each their own. But, that comment, this kind of drug me into it, that comment, I don't need a field trial dog. I don't know why it put me down this rabbit hole, but it did. So I think just going through that, you identify what's the right dog for you, and then, like, I love challenging myself. I love challenging other people. Like, go get the most out of your dog. Your dog loves doing it. Why not push through it? I have a busy day here, so I'm going to jump off, but appreciate it, everybody. Appreciate the time you guys spent here with me today. Hopefully I'll have some fun stories next week, or I'm sorry, I won't be here next week, the week after, about my fishing trip, kind of what's going on there, and then we're going to dig in. We're getting more and more into training season here, so there's going to be more and more good stuff coming up here. So I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, has a fantastic week. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Eukanuba, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.